What is going on, everybody? This is Jim back with a port report of Elder Scrolls Blades for the Nintendo Switch. A couple things that I'll point out. I recorded this plugging it into a TV, so you may notice that there are some graphical issues. It's not anything on my end. This game is not very well optimized, unfortunately. That said, it is still an absolute blast to play. One of the things that Elder Scrolls Blades attempted to bridge the gap on was to bring a really fun mobile experience of Elder Scrolls. We've had a lot of ports on major consoles, virtual reality, computer, obviously, which I guess is just an extension of consoles. But we haven't really had a bite-sized Elder Scrolls game until Blades came out. And when it released, I fell in love with it. I easily logged 100 plus hours into this game, and I had a blast building up my town, going through all the stories, going through all the side quests, everything. The game has undergone some pretty significant changes from my initial review, which you can find on my channel. If you go back in time, you can see some of my early thoughts on it, talking about events and weapons and stuff. So as a result, I am in endgame. I have beaten the main story. I am extremely powerful, and I'm going back and doing some missions that are very, very simple for me. You won't have it as easily as I did when you first start playing. If this is your first time picking it up, keep that in mind. But I'm not going to deep dive too much into the overall history and story of Elder Scrolls. Suffice to say that it ties in with the Blades. You play as one of the last Blades, and you are basically exiled, essentially, really on the run more than I guess an exile, to go to this old dilapidated town and rebuild it up and reestablish, at least part of the Blades order, definitely to give yourself a better quality of life. Now, what's really cool about Elder Scrolls coming over to the Nintendo Switch is that if you're like me and you've been playing it for a really long time on your phone, it's going to seamlessly work. You log right in, you pick up right where you left off. And since you're always connected to a server, you can go back to your phone and back to your Switch very, very seamlessly. So it has a really nice sense of cross progression there. I know that Elder Scrolls has been talking about bringing this over to computer at some time based on the quality of this port. I would be very interested to see what that actually looks like. But for now, it's just on the Switch. You may have saw that splash screen at the beginning indicating for you to go ahead and strap up those Joy-Cons. Unfortunately, the motion portion of this game is not yet implemented. So if you want to play this kind of like how we used to play Skyward Sword with your Wii Nunchuck controllers, that is not an option here. You're just pressing and holding trigger buttons to swing. You're using the left and right analog sticks to move around. But it's okay. Honestly, it's not a big deal. But just to be, so you're for completeness. Now, I played this on my Pro controller. I didn't notice any major input lag at all, any kind of latency in terms of my controls. This game is very much about timing. You'll notice that when I walk up in combat, you're seeing these giant circles appear on the left and on the right side of the screen. That's me timing and letting go of a button to indicate an attack. I play as a knight with a very heavy emphasis on a two-handed sword. Two-handed shield would be very interesting. Two-handed sword, where I'm just bashing enemies, and I'm using a couple dodge attacks where I actually back up a second. Timing is important in that, and I can say that that part is seamless. So you're not going to have any issues in terms of how to play the game. It's going to work the way that you think it should. There's not going to be any problems. The performance, though, is where I'm a little frustrated. I know that the Nintendo Switch is more powerful than my phone. It should be. And I do use an iPhone XS. On the iPhone, this game runs at 60 frames a second, and it's beautiful. The problem I have with playing this game on mobile, whether you play in portrait or landscape mode, is that your hands are constantly covering up part of the screen. So when you see me using those big attacks on the iPhone, I actually have to press and hold the left and right portions of my screen. When I am moving my character, I basically have to press and hold on the left-hand side to indicate forward motion. There is tap controls allowed. All those buttons you see that are bind to different keys on the bottom left and right above my magicka and stamina bars are all buttons I have to physically press on my phone. The problem is it covers up a lot of the screen and a lot of the beauty of the game, and it really does kind of limit your experience. Now, one of the things that I was really eager to when I did get a chance to play a very early copy of this port at E3 last year was I was amazed by how much more of the world I got to see just because my fat hands weren't covering the left and right portions of the screen. And when you put this on your big screen TV and you have it on your dock and you're sitting down at your couch, you're going to be amazed by how much more you could see than opposed to on your phone. The problem is you may not like what you see. This game suffers from very, very major performance issues in terms of draw distance, in terms of overall character pixelization, and unfortunately, for some reason, it has a very bad stutter when it loads a new area. So you'll notice there's times in the game where the game will freeze legitimately for 2 to 3 seconds as it loads the next area, and everything just stops. The game stops, the music stops, everything is just like on pause, and then it proceeds normally. Now, I haven't had any issues of this in combat. Thankfully, what this game does with combat is it kind of locks you into place. You can't move around. So this is not like a traditional Elder Scrolls game where you're going to be running and jumping and climbing on rocks when you're fighting people. As soon as you approach an enemy, it will force you into that fight. If there are multiple enemies, you're going to have to fight them one after another without any pause. That's where the game starts to get a little more difficult. And if you are playing for the first time, that's something you're going to struggle through. A lot of people have. And that's really unfortunate. I feel like if this game could fix that, I think it would be in a much better place. That said, I feel like this game was designed for bite-sized chunks. You pick it up, you play a dungeon, you work on the infinite abyss, which is just randomly generated levels all the way down and just, infinite levels. I mean, there is a hard cap way at the end, but you're not going to hit it anytime soon. But, that was really how the game was designed. So in that sense, I don't know if a lot of people would be sitting down in front of their TV docked playing this. When I played it on the handheld variant, when I held the Switch in my hands, I noticed the performance was better. Not significantly better, but it was better. A lot of the weird graphical and artifacting issues that I noticed, the pop-in wasn't as noticeable, the graphics were a little crisper. I like that. So I feel like if you're going to stick with this game, you're probably going to want to stick with it on the handheld portion, if that makes sense. Now, additionally, and that really does help for the bite-sized piece. So the other thing is, and this is something that I really like, is the game is now out of their beta, which it's been in beta for a very, very long time. It doesn't really mean a whole lot to, I think, a lot of people in terms of if you're new to the game, you didn't have to deal with the early access growing pains that a lot of us did. I went through a lot when this game came out. There's a lot of things that I really didn't like about this game, particularly there was a lot of hard timers that were hard-coded into the game. Chests took a long time to open. You could pay the premium currency to open chests faster. I mean, like a gold chest would take a day. So you'd have to time when you were going to open things. You try to set a longer thing to open right before you went to bed at night. Thankfully, they've gotten rid of all of that. So there's been some definite improvements in just quality of life. Chests now open instantly. Loot is definitely much more plentiful than it was before. I mean, these guys, when I kill them, they are just exploding with loot. Gold pieces and gems, which is the premium currency, which you can actually get for free in this game. That's actually, as a fun fact, I've never put a single penny into this game. I'm not a big fan of the microtransaction model. Although I did buy a lot of merchandise, if that counts. But so I've supported it in my own way, I guess. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of nice stuff too. You're noticing that I'm not just getting basic stuff like lumber, but I'm actually getting different types of gems and different crafting materials that are of high quality. And I like that. It's really good to see that they have upped the loot a little bit. I mean, it's not going to be spewing loot like the Destiny loot cave, but you're definitely not going to be struggling early on to get your hands on some better gear. And I appreciate that they've kind of bumped up that a little bit as well. You're going to take all that fun loot and you're going to go back to your town. This is where the performance just absolutely dies. And it's so incredibly frustrating because this is the culmination of your journey. Going back to the town, when you first come to this place, every building is completely destroyed and on rubble. You have to build everything up. You have to build the crafting stations up. You bring NPCs from your quest to live with you to be safe in this town as you are their guardian. and you can build it up with all of these decorations and put them in any place that you want and make it your own. And this is kind of like your trophy room. This is a living trophy room, really, to think of it that way. And it just runs so badly. It's really, really frustrating. So I hope that maybe they go back and take a look at this. I didn't get a chance to play this in the E3 portion. I only did a mission. I didn't get to see my town. But it's really frustrating that your town just doesn't look that great. Again, on handheld, it looks significantly better. And then on mobile, it looks great and really, really enjoying. So you just see me kind of scanning around here, looking at some of the pop-up and some of the major performance issues that I'm seeing. But if you are a fan of Blades, and I am a fan of Blades, I highly recommend you check this out and give it some time. Throw it in the queue, play a little bit. I think you're going to fall in love with it like I did. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.